President von der Leyen, thank you so much for joining us on Euronews here at the G7 in Cornwall. Firstly, I want to ask you about the leaders and how you have been able to exert the European Commission's influence during your meetings with the rest of the G7 leaders.
Well, I think the main takeaway is in G7, trust is back. We share the same views, we share the same interests, the same values, and we are determined to take our responsibility to shape the transformation we have to undergo towards a more greener and more digital society and economy. This is the basic takeaway.
Moving on to China, you're announcing a sort of competitive infrastructure project among the G7 countries to compete with China's Belt and Road that they've implemented across North Africa, across Latin America and all over the world to try and get their goods out. Can you tell us exactly what that is, and might it not antagonize Beijing?
So first of all, our view is very much united what China is concerned. We know there are fields where we do cooperate, for example, the fight against climate change. It will be very interesting and important to set a clear road towards Kunming, for example, the COP15 for biodiversity. That's in our common interest. Then in the economic field, we are competitors. There are parts where we cooperate, but there are other parts where we are strong competitors. And for that, we also, as G7, know that we need to have our tools, for example, a 5G toolbox or foreign direct investment screening and other tools. And then there's the third part, and that is an important one. It's about fundamental rights, human values, and democracy. And here it's very clear. Here we are systemic rivals without any question. Now, what the connectivity initiative is concerned, we discussed intensively that it is important to bring forward this connectivity initiative and to make sure that we have the better and the more convincing model. So as an enormous, the largest economic power as G7, it is for us important to convince our partners with us. The investment comes without strings and attachment compared to China.
Moving on to climate change, that's been a huge dominating issue here as it is in all politics now. What concretely is the G7 doing? Is there interest in a carbon border tax? Did you press on that? Where did the leaders land on this issue?
So first of all, we all are aware of the fact that emitting CO2 has to have a price. So the pricing on CO2 is important to reduce the emission of CO2. Then the second part, which is a common understanding, is in this transformation there is a huge opportunity through innovation, new technologies, clean technologies, to move forward, and this is our new growth strategy. So then there's a third point. There are developing countries, of course, that have to catch up a lot. And we know even if we stay below 1.5 degree, the Paris Agreement, the world will be worse because of the warming, and a lot of adaptation has to take place. Therefore, we are aware of the responsibility of the G7 to finance large parts for developing countries of this adaptation. We will discuss today the 100 billion euro fund per year. So this shows very clearly there's a huge opportunity in fighting climate change. It's a growth strategy, but there's a lot of responsibility for us too.
We're still in the middle of the global pandemic. Vaccines are pulling us out of it. The US President Joe Biden announced 500 million doses to be donated to the rest of the world heading into this G7. But the European Union is creating a lot of the vaccine doses in the world and has been exporting. How can you make sure you're competing in the PR section of this to make sure the world knows what Europe's doing?
First of all, I really commend the United States for that move. It's good that it happened finally, so we're very happy about that. And there's one goal, and that is fight this pandemic and this virus. So the more we can donate, the better, and therefore this overall target really to step up in donations, to step up in export. That was a big topic too. The European Union has exported 350 million doses in the first 6 months of this pandemic, and 50% of those are going to developing countries. So we pledged that in the next 6 months we will also export around about 350 million doses, and 50% of those go to non-G7 countries. So if you take the overall approach, it is about donations, it is about financing, and it is about export. That's the short term. In the long term, we have to build manufacturing hubs in other regions of the world. For example, in Africa, that is one task for the European Union. We will invest €1 billion in building these manufacturing hubs with our African friends, so that over time Africa produces its own vaccines, not only concerning COVID, but for example other infectious diseases like malaria or tuberculosis.
We're here in the United Kingdom. There's still a pretty big dispute between the British government and the European Union over this Northern Ireland protocol. That's been clouding somewhat some of the discussions, I suppose. At what point do you, as the European Union, give up on trying to persuade the British partners around to sticking to their agreement and find another way?
Now, one thing is paramount for us, and that is peace and stability on the island of Ireland and the respect for the Good Friday Agreement. And we've been discussing very simple facts. First of all, of course, goods from the UK have to flow seamlessly to Northern Irish people without any question. But without any question also is that goods from the UK to the European single market have to be checked. And for that, we have agreed on the withdrawal agreement and the protocol, and now it's about implementation. We've shown a lot of flexibility. We expect our British friends to show the same flexibility and just to do their job and implement what we have agreed upon. It's the one and only solution to solve the questions connected with the Brexit on the island of Ireland, and it's a good solution, so we should move forward now.
President von der Leyen, thank you so much for joining us on Euronews.
Thank you.